انا مش هقدم اجنده، انا هبتدي بستوري وهنمشي معاها جرادوال لحد ما اوصل للتايتل اللي احنا بدانا بيه. لو قلت لحضرتك ان حضرتك فزت برحله حج، او حضرتك فزت $1,000,000، او ان حضرتك نجحت في الامتحان، وده الكلام موجه للمدرسين المساعدين حبايبنا، او ان انت قضيت وقت حلو قوي مع اغلى انسان على قلبك، او ان انا هديب لك احلى مولتن كيك شوكولاته دلوقتي، حضرتك هتحس بايه؟ حضرتك هتحس انك مبسوط. You will feel well and you will be satisfied, and this is the meaning of happiness. Okay? We know that our brain control our emotions at the limbic system, and at these situations there are happy chemicals or transmitters, neurotransmitters produced like serotonin and dopamine and others. How many brains do we have? 2, 1. They are 3 brains. Yes. One in the head for what I understand and what I think, what in the heart, what I feel, and one in the gut, I will do. Okay? And these 3 brains are connected to each other, and the signals are more from down up, more than up down. So is it a gut or second brain? Because of the presence of the enteric nervous system with over 500 million neurons, and this is, by the way, 5 times the number of neurons in our spinal tract, and this enteric nervous system is connected to the central nervous system through the vagus nerve, and even though when the vagus nerve is severed, this intestine can function fully. They react to external and internal stimuli in the form of contractions or release of digestive enzymes, so they have a mind of their own. Moreover, serotonin and dopamine, the happy chemicals, they are mainly produced in our gut. More than 90% of serotonin and more than 50% of dopamine are produced in our gut. And this may explain why when you eat a piece of chocolate, we will feel bitter. Not because of the taste itself, no, but due to the chemical connection present. We have a gut feeling. Our gut reacts to our feelings. Sometimes our gut gives us a sense of alarm or something is going wrong, especially with uncertain or unknown situations. And this means that our gut may be our second brain. It controls our physical and mental health, and this was coined at 1989. Actually, the gut and brain are in intimate conversation, and this conversation is always bidirectional. This was in the history. من ايام الفلاسفه الاغريق زمان قالوا ان البرين is connected to our body بوصلات داخليه. وجه بيومونت عمل ده بالاكسبيرمنت اما قال ان الايموشنال ستيتس بتافكت الريت اوف دايجيشن، وده كاول ديمونستريشن ان في جاد برين اكسس. جاء بعد كده بافلوف اما عمل عشان proved the cephalic phase of gastric and pancreatic secretion. بافلوف عمل ايه؟ عمل conditioning للdogs. They will salivate anticipating food every time he rang for meals. This was the proof for the presence of gut brain axis. Actually, they act as a team for the sake of our health, but another integral player is the gut microbiome has appeared in the first, and this proposed to be the microbiome gut-brain axis. Not only the gut-brain. What about the gut microbiome? You know, microorganisms are tiny organisms in any environment. Microbiota are community of microorganisms in a certain environment. Microbiome refers to the genetic material from these microorganisms in this microbiome. Actually, the human body contains trillions of microorganisms, and these are distributed all over the body from the skin to the lung, to the gut, to the genital organs. And the biggest population is located in the gut, about 95% of them. And as we proceed in the gut from proximal to distal, these organisms increase in density, in diversity, and in distribution, with 90% mainly from 2 species, firmicutes and bacteroides. Actually, we all share the time before existence, the 9 months in our mother's womb, which is a sterile environment. Nothing else is living except of us. birth, we are coated with organisms from the birth canal. And these organisms colonize our bodies and slowly progress till it is changing throughout lifetime. And these organisms are diverse. This means thousands of species producing multiple functions. And this diversity increases gradually till it is stabilized at the end of 3 or 4 years. If we weigh the gut microbiome versus the brain, I think that the gut microbiome will weigh about 1 to 2 kilograms. And this is almost the same as, or even more than the 1.4 kilogram human brain. Moreover, we only own 1/10 of our bodies. This means for every human cell, there is 10 microorganisms in our bodies. Moreover, the genome, 99% comes from the microbial genome, while only 1% comes from the human genome. And the microbiome in our gut is usually specific, like a fingerprint of us, even in identical twins. That means we are more microbes than men. Does it mean that our gut microbiota can control our brain? It's a field of research. But what we know that they are living with us in symbiotic method with mutual relationship. We need them and they need us. Okay? They don't live there without paying the rent. They produce mediate functions. The functions are metabolic, like producing vitamins, like deconjugation of bile acids, like supporting the digestion and production of short-chain fatty acids. Others, like competing with pathogens, inhibiting their invasion of our gut and supporting our immune system. There are many factors affecting our gut microbiome, from the birth mood to the feeding during infancy, to stress, diet, medications, and even life cycle stages. Being vaginally delivered or breastfed, or playing outdoors, or having a variety of fruits and vegetables in our diets, that supports the diversity of microorganisms in our gut microbiome. On the other hand, C-sections, formula feeding, indoor playing and over-sanitation, processed food consumption, all of these suppress the diversity of our microbiome in the first 5 years of life. Metchenkov, the Russian scientist, the Nobel Prize winner for the role of phagocytes, first one to blame that the intestinal microbiota is responsible for premature aging of our tissues and organs. And after that, in the 19th century, the physicians have a common understanding that the intestine is a reservoir for toxins, and any medical problem is related to these toxins, to the limit that they had their patient to consume or swallow disinfecting mixtures to sterilize the gut. And this happened again near with Trump during COVID-19 infection. Even the surgeon at that time began to do a resection of intestine in those patients with gastric discomfort. The war on the microbiome continued with the discovery of antibiotics and overuse of them, with the C-section which became more common, with the diets which became westernized, and the extension of these bacteria was associated with the appearance of many modern epidemics. What about the connection? How complex is the traffic system between the gut and the brain? This was an experiment carried on 2004 on 2 groups of mice. One of them was made germ-free and the other containing their microbiome. And on exposure to stressful experience, the one with germ-free showed the most accelerated response. Moreover, mice colonized by toxoplasma showed irrational response. They lost their fear for cats and even liked the cats, and by them to be a dinner for these cats. This means that this microbiome controls their brain, changes their thoughts and behavior. connection occurs? The connection is bidirectional from bottom up and from up down. Regarding the bottom up signaling, نقطة الإشارة أو المولكيولز اللي بتدي الإشارة بتيجي من أكتر من source أهمها الفود. And the microbiome manipulate the data component to produce microbial byproducts. من أهم الميكروبيال byproducts دي short chain fatty acids. Short chain fatty acids like acetate, propionate, and butyrate. They mediate functions on the gut and mediate also functions on direct on the brain physiology, especially acetate. Also, the gut microbiome released neurotransmitters that will affect the neurotransmitters of the brain. So, by action of my gut microbiome on neurotransmitters or their precursors, they will produce effect on the brain or the gut via the gut-brain axis. What after the signals? These are the molecules produced. What next? These molecules or microbial byproducts react with different specialized cells in the gut epithelium. They may react with the enteroendocrine cells producing neuropeptides or gut hormones. They may also react with immune cells producing cytokines and upregulating the T regulatory cells. They also may react with enterochromaffin cells producing neurotransmitters again. And last reaction is via the interaction directly with the specialized cells that synapse with the afferent of nerve, with the vagus nerve, what's called neurobones. After the signal is produced, it is transmitted. There are three routes, either through the blood or the vagus or the immune system. Through the blood, the microbial byproducts reach the brain through the circulation. Some of these products are small and can cross the blood-brain barrier, and some others alter this barrier by itself. The second route will be the vagus. The sensor in our gut is the neurobodes, and these neurobodes sense mechanical, thermal, or chemical products in our gut human. And I mean by chemical, microbial byproducts and nutrients. And these signals are converted into pulses that activate the afferent neurons of the vagus nerve. Talking about the vagus, the longest nerve in our bodies, it is the 10th cranial nerve that's connected not only to the brain or the gut, but many other organs. And it is considered as the bidirectional neurological superhighway. That means it carries information from up down and from down up. But there's more information coming from down up in about 90% of its fibers than the information is coming from up down in about 10% of its fibers. The third and last route is by direct interaction between the microbes and the immune cells in the gut. They interact with them عن طريق toll-like receptors, and في الآخر هيبقى في production لcytokines. Some of these cytokines have anti-inflammatory effects زي interleukin 10 and also upregulation of T regulatory cells. All these impulses reach the brain regions, and these brain regions cooperate with other processes to control the feeding behavior. What about the other pathway from up down? Actually, the gut will receive stimulation either direct from sympathetic and parasympathetic down, or indirect through the stimulation of the nervous system, and both of them will control the gut motility, permeability, microbiota, and immune cell activity. The other pathway than the physiologic that occurs with stress is the hypothalamic pituitary axis that occur in response to stress, and this pathway will end by the formation of cortisol. This cortisol will prime the body to the fight and flight action, and at the same time act on the bowel, interfering with the microbiota composition, interfering with the permeability, and interfering with the immune and the neuroendocrine response. What if this axis is distorted? And this is usually accompanied by dysbiosis, and I mean by dysbiosis imbalance of the gut microbiota. So the commensals will decrease in diversity and count, and so there will be interruption of the normal barrier activity of the intestine and promote inflammatory response. And dysbiosis is mainly caused by medications, especially antibiotics, dietary changes psychological and physical stress. And this means there is loosening of tight junctions, and this contributes in the pathophysiology of functional GI disorders. Rome criteria, the Rome foundations. No, I will not discuss them. I will give the ID. لا انا هقول بس ان روم فاونديشن قالت ان هتغير المسمى بتاع الفانكشن جي اي ديس اوردرز في روم 5 اديشن تبقى ديس اوردرز اوف جات برين انتراكشن نتيجه النولج اللي احنا عرفناها دي كلها. Now we know that we have to reassure our relationship with the microbiome for our own health. And this will be applied by a new interaction, the new strategies for manipulating our gut microbiota, including probiotics, and this is historical, and the alteration of dietary, and lastly, fecal microbiota transplantation. Lastly, we know so much about the human body, but yet we know so little. So the unexplained is the path to the truth. Eat well and be happy, because happy gut means a happy brain. Thank you.
شكرا جزيلا يا دكتوره رشا، الموضوع كويس جميل جدا 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 يعني. والحقيقه انا تو ذا بيست اوف ماي نولج ان معظم الفيزيشنز هم اللي مبوظين الميكروبيوم. سيزيريان سيكشن، فالعيل ما بياخدش الفاجينال مايكروبيوم، ما فيش رضاعه طبيعيه، انتي بايوتيك. واستاذه الدكتوره يعني بتقول لك يعمل ديسبويز 6 شهور. فنرجو الهدايه للناس. الان مع اخي وحبيبي وزميلي يعني اتفضل يا باشا. definitely dysbiose دلوقتي اكيد.
لقوا جيرم فري لاينز او جيرم فري راتس اور بيجز، لكن مش هيومن. ويقال حتى انه اللي بياخد وان كورس اوف انتيبيوتكس فور 6 مانث بيبقى عنده ديسبيوزس. طب هاو تو ريستور ذيس تو نورمال؟ يعني احنا دلوقتي in this dilemma how to restore.
هو the best is prevention.
Prevention. Stop taking antibiotic.
Nothing
we are يعني الواقع الحالي احنا بناخد. طب how to regain these normal flora.
في الاستراتيجي تو مانيبيوليت الجات مايكروبيوتا، في منها تارجتد وفي منها جلوبالي، ان انا اتعامل مع الميكروبيوم كله. Targeted by using antibiotics or using vaccines. Global strategies to deal with the gut microbiota include the probiotics, include the dietary modifications, include the fecal transplantation till the limitations go away. Nothing new.